Alright, it is Thursday, June 26, 2025. I'm discussing the issue that I keep having. The problem is that we keep trying to create communities online, and it's not working. When you're talking to people anonymously online, you can't produce an actual meaningful connection. So I think that one of the ways in order to connect with people is through labor, is through a mutual shared project. This is why part of my mission over the last couple of years has been to try and create the vessel, if that makes sense, in order to create the circumstances in which people can actually just be together. This is incredibly difficult to do if you don't have money, because a lot of how like the upper class does this is like going to festivals, partying, drinking, yada yada yada, all this bullshit. But if you're a lower class person like myself, you just don't have the circumstances in which you can meet people and talk to them on a regular basis. And that being said, there also seems to be this inbuilt psychic immunity that just the working class has. Like, you're dealing with a bunch of like rough, rowdy fucking guys. There's an aspect that they're in denial of their own shitty circumstances. And I think that's just because of the amount of work it would take to, like, people don't think about this consciously, it's a subconscious thing, I notice, but they will make excuses for the system's oppression against them. And I hate saying shit like that whenever I say systematic oppression or anything like that, because it makes me sound like a fucking liberal. It makes me sound like I'm a guy, like a black guy fucking complaining about racism. But there are systems against us. Like, we know what the purpose of the system is if you've been around the block and you've read anything worth reading, like The System's Genius Trick by Ted Kaczynski. Everybody should be familiar with that. Like, the purpose of modernity is to chop people up, make them into atomized individuals, basically make them all fucked up with either physical or mental handicaps, and put those forward as virtues. Now I'm starting to think that's kind of like the negative aspect. What I'm starting to notice is this kind of neutral aspect when I'm bringing people in as hires, is everybody seems to have their own niche little stupid spiritual identity, even if they aren't a visible minority. So like, you'll have like people who you're like, oh, like this seems like they could be a normal functioning white person. And I've talked about this in the past, but you know, I brought a guy in and now all of a sudden he wants to be fucking Muslim. I bring some lady in and now they're into some fucking Indian horse shit, Reiki healing fucking nonsense. I guess part of the reason why that is, like, you look at Christianity, you look at like any sort of like what we call normal healthy spiritualism, and it's really not, because it's world denying. Like, you talk to just fucking run of the mill Christians, there's something like if a religion was a fruit, Christianity would be a raisin. It's like all of its life essence, all of its juices are kind of sucked out of it. It's always like, it's not lively enough. There's a thing that I kept hearing when I went to churches. It said the Bible is a living text, and it's funny because it's not. It is very formulaic. It is very what you would say, like, it's dry. It's all very dry. It's all very forced. I'm not somebody who goes to protests. I'm not somebody who likes to go, you know, whatever kind of community thing that is going on. If there is ever going to be something that I go to and I'm a part of something like that, I would have to be one of the people creating a large event. I wouldn't just be able to be a participant. I'd have to be a a contributor in an important way. But when you go to even like any sort of like these secular displays of religiosity, regardless if it's like pride or any sort of protest or anything like this. The reason why I'm bringing this up is I'm remembering like David Fleming's, what book did he read? I want to say Rules for Radicals, but that wasn't it. Here, hold on. I got the book in my room. Hold on. Just a moment. Oh, Surviving the Future. The book was called Surviving the Future by David Fleming, and he talks about the kind of, in every sort of protest or any sort of public gathering, there's like the spirit of carnival or carnival if you're from fucking South America that permeates and all people become a part of it. And despite the fact that all the other things that I listed were these pathetic, like what in my idea are these pathetic expressions of like degeneracy, people still gravitate towards them despite them being, by my estimate, like weak fantasies. Like they're permitted because they are useful in utility to the power of the regime. But what I'm trying to get to at the end of the day is creating something that is of that is able to channel that energy. And I guess this is the other problem. This is kind of, I talked about this before. It was, I don't know if it was Endeavor or, I'm trying to remember, one of the guys at the old Glory Club was talking about this. He made a video years ago, but basically about bio-Leninism. And the purpose of bio-Leninism is that basically you elect people into positions of power that they would never be able to attain on their own. Is that you put them in as the building blocks for your whatever your political party is, or whatever your power basis is, because they would never be able to achieve that on their own. But if you're like a white heterosexual man, you obviously keep those people out. Like, those are the people that we know don't exist within most aspects of government right now. There are some old fucking boomers who are there as just because they're grandfathered in and their will to power is still strong. Like they surround themselves in these fucking, minorities, women, nons, yada yada, gays, and whatnot. And there are still core nuclei of white guys. Like, you look at Canadian Parliament, you see like Mark Carney, for example, who is his whole deal is that he is a rootless cosmopolitan. It's been said time and time again, this is a guy who spent more time outside of Canada than he has inside. Again, I don't know enough about the guy. I just kind of know the surface level of this guy, and I'm not going to go into a long detail of him, first off, because I don't know, and I also don't need to know. I can just look at this guy and be like, okay, like, this is clearly somebody who's not on my fucking team. He's just currently the figurehead of the rootless cosmopolitan regime that wishes to destroy my ethnicity and extract as much resources and energy out of me as they do so. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so back to bio-Leninism. If you're like, this is the difference, okay? You have what is the established white man and the ascending white man, okay? And at the white guys, you got to fucking establish themselves before, let's say 2010, before the woke regime started coming into power, are totally confident and totally okay with going on, because their whole thing is they're trying to live in material reality forever. I kind of make this as a joke to myself every so often. Is like, these guys are perfectly okay with selling me down the river because they're trying to stay on this mortal coil as long as they can, because ultimately they know they're going to hell at the end of the day, is that they're all going to go to hell. But if you're like me and you're an ascendant male, despite the fact that, yeah, like the entire regime is against us, you can still do well as a white man, even as you're handicapped. This is kind of the problem, is compared to like the masses of nons and women who need the regime to back them, who basically need to extract my my telos, my vril from me through like the stupid little nonsense rituals I have to do every fucking day in order to not lose leverage. Like, I'm kind of going up against another roadblock right now. I'm seeing another block in the road, another wall, which I'm struggling to figure out how to overcome, which is part of the reason why I'm making this video. It's just the roadblock is the upscaling. How do I make my energy more useful? And because there's going to be a reckoning where I have to start talking about my ideas in a realistic way, and I can no longer kind of sit in the back and be like a faggot cuck who I can't wear the false mask of like somebody who we would define as blue pill. I'm starting to be able to not do that, because in order for me to proceed in the way that I need to start kind of expressing dissident ideas to the people around me in order to actually like upscale and make things meaningful. Anyways, that's kind of just my brainstorming session. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye.